What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. So if you guys have been watching any of my videos for any length of time, I'm sure you guys have come to know that I love anything to do with ice powers. So when it comes to a game like Diablo 2 and a character class like this new Warlock class, when I see a character that has no innate cold skills, I absolutely take that as a challenge. So of course I felt compelled beyond reason to make an Ice-Themed Warlock. And I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with the results. And there's a lot of room for improvement. This character is not perfect by any means, or optimal. But he does have a few core pieces of gear which give him his powers, and they give him that ice-cold touch that I was looking for. So let's go through my Warlock's modest setup, shall we? So his main piece would be his weapon, which was probably the hardest room word to make for him, compared to getting the rest of his gear. And this weapon is Rift. Now, if you haven't used it before, I'll just give you a general overview, and feel free to pause this part of the video at any time to look at the specifics on the items. So Rift is a weapon that allows you a 16% chance to proc a level 21 frozen orb on attack, not just on striking. This means that just making the attempt of an attack can almost trigger this. So when you pair it with a skill like Mirrored Blades, which essentially gives you 4 melee attacks in one, and apparently seems to always hit just like Smite, you wind up crapping out a ton of frozen orbs. So it sounds like a winning recipe for my guy. And just a side note, if you want to make a more feasible version of this weapon, look into Voice of Reason. The chances to proc a frozen orb are a little bit less at 13%, and the levels of frozen orbs that shoot out are level 13. But the trade-off is it's a weapon that deals more innate cold damage, and it also gives all monsters you're attacking negative 24% to their cold resistance. So it's a more cheaper and more viable alternative, say if you're playing a ladder, or if you're on a dry streak looking for high runes. Anyway, let's continue with the rest of the gear. So I wanted to proc another cold skill, and the easiest one that I could find, say when I'm getting hit, is Frost Nova. So I had this really cool 4-socketed armor that I was sitting on, and of course it has a small chance to proc Frost Nova when you're getting hit. Not to mention that the armor is blue and gives our guy that ice-cold aesthetic that we so desperately need. If you're a total cryomaniac like me, of course. In addition, we have Tiamat's Rebuke. This will provide another 5% chance when we're getting struck to unleash another Frost Nova, but this one will be at level 9, which could potentially put a dent in monster's life until you get to hell. But the Frost Nova's proccing, for me at least, are just more for the aesthetics. Next, we have a simple lore helmet, super easy to make, and my Warlock has a pair of goblin toes for his boots. A pretty easy find overall if you're doing magic find runs on Nightmare. You're bound to come across a pair of these at some point pretty quick. And that 25% crushing blow is really all you need to exploit the fact that Mirrored Blades is, to an extent, a melee attack, even though it looks kind of like a caster attack, but it receives all the benefits of melee buffs like Open Wounds, Crushing Blow, etc. The amulet is super basic, and then I did have a spare Stone of Jordan, which obviously is expensive, but with this easy build, you could swap that for just about anything. The more important ring on this build, I would say, is the Raven Frost, because unless you find another kind of item that gives you cannot be frozen, that's one of the biggest things that could slow you down, because Mirrored Blades requires your attack speed to be high, not your cast rate. And freezing effects don't affect casting speed, but they absolutely affect your melee speed. And then here I had some nice Tri-Res, 20% increased attack speed gloves. And then there's a bunch of random charms, blah blah blah. Nothing real fancy except an Analyst charm. Oh, and I almost forgot the belt. Anyway, it's a simple Crendium belt. Yeah, it gives you some strength and dexterity, but I mainly used it for the all-res. And now, taking a quick look at my Mercenary, he's got some really basic gear. Bulwark helmet for damage reduction, rattle cage for crushing blow, and an ethereal obedience weapon, just to pack a little bit of a punch, at a very modest rune cost. But what really makes a difference with this build is the demon that you decide to bind. So you definitely want to invest at least one skill point into Bind Demon on the demon tree. So here I have Hephaestus the Armorer, and he's got a Conviction Aura, which will really help out a lot with our level 21 Frozen Orb. And the rest of my character's damage is going to come from passive magic damage from the other skills that you put skill points into related to Mirrored Blades. So by comparison to other Warlock builds, this is extremely underpowered, and I was totally fine with that as long as I could give him some kind of ice abilities. So mission accomplished, and actually so much so that I was able to do Uber Lilith, Uber Doriel, and Uber Iswal, all without using Life Tap, and it was pretty easy. But I will let you guys know up front, because of the lack of physical damage with this character, trying to complete Uber Tristram is a no-go, because the 3 Uber Primevals just hit way too hard for me to not use Life Tap. So that's kind of where the power for this build ends, but I'm totally okay with that. I can go looking for high runes, I can do some key runs, and I can do terrorize zones all pretty easily, and that to me is a win, especially with an awkward and pretty cheap build like this. So with all that said, let's put this guy on display, and I want to show you in particular a run that I did with Uber Iswal, and how we actually didn't have to run around his monsters, but we actually killed them all. Despite the fact that they're immune to everything except for physical damage, my Warlock and his little cohort of evil minions happen to deal with these guys pretty well. So kick back, relax, and check out some footage of the Ice Warlock.
So there you have it, a nice little sample of what my Ice Warlock can do in combat. And I did want to make one correction, sorry it took to the end of this video, but when I fought the Ubers, I forgot that I was using a duress armor, which isn't too hard of an armor to make, but I needed it to get some kind of chance of open wounds, which is crucial to keep Ubers from regenerating their life faster than you can actually hurt them. But aside from that, I wear the blue armor with the Frost Nova chance pretty much 99% of the time while I'm using this character. So yeah, I hope you guys found some inspiration with this off-meta build. It's fun to just explore and try different things with different items on characters. And my whole mantra is the rule of cool, and as long as you're having fun with the build that you're making, it doesn't have to be the most optimal. And I truly have a blast every time I upload this character and start playing. So I hope this inspired you guys to do an off-meta Warlock build of your own. And if you guys liked the video, consider hitting that like button. And if you really want to show me some love, consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget, if you like anything related to fitness, gaming, hobbies, or motivational speeches, check out the rest of my channel. Because life isn't one-dimensional, and neither is my content. So until next time, love your life, stay motivated, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.